So here's a pretty big mistake I see church planners make regularly. It's trying to handle the finances of the church by yourself without going outside of yourself or your expertise, or sometimes even your core team and your core team's expertise, to find somebody who really knows what they're doing when you're trying to set up the financial systems of your new church. There's no time in the life of your church where it's more important to put good financial practices in place than in the very beginning. So I've got to encourage you at this stage of the journey, if at all possible, to include a professional in the process of setting up your accounting services. Now, many church planners mess this up. They know how to do QuickBooks on their personal home finances, and so they decide, hey, I can do this, and they start doing the finances themselves. They start writing checks themselves. They make themselves signers on the bank accounts, which is something perfectly legal to do. You can do that. You can go open a church bank account and make yourself a signer on it as the pastor or the church planner, but it's just not a wise thing to do. An accounting service will help you set up good policies and practices. Most of them have pre-packaged versions of those that you can take and adapt for your own use. And it gives you a layer of accountability that if there was ever an accusation that came against you for something you did wrong, or some way in which you were accused of embezzling or taking money for personal gain, that you would have a layer of protection where somebody would be able to say, hey, no, that's not what happened. This professional was involved and they set up these practices, and we know that our pastor didn't do anything wrong. And so I really want to encourage you in this first stage of the journey. Now, you're going to not want to do it because it's going to cost some money. When you go into this process, you're going to find that it's expensive sometimes. But there are organizations out there that are specifically catered to helping nonprofits and churches get started and set up. Now, most of those organizations will actually take the work that they do, and they'll train one of your volunteers to carry out those practices and to work that software. So you can spend a little bit of money in the beginning to get everything set up properly, and then have that organization train your volunteers. So in perpetuity, in the long run, it doesn't cost your church a whole lot. So let me really encourage you to secure some good accounting services in the very beginning of your church plant, to make sure that the accounting practices are set up in a way that promotes your integrity, that doesn't tempt you to do anything that's wrong or that would dishonor the Lord or harm your congregation, and something that will make the work of your ministry more efficient in the future.